we go. Okay. What we haven't done in a few days is just seen where we are in the larger picture of things. So we are now on section 30 in the book of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. I've divided it into about 12 sections. We started the day, then we learned about davening, we learned about studying Torah, and most recently we're learning about proper conduct and good character traits. And within the section of proper conduct, we spoke about developing good character traits, which was mostly from the Rambam, where he spoke about how a person should be in the middle, not to either extreme, but certain negative characters that a person should go to the opposite extreme from and avoid at all costs. That was in the last section that we started a few weeks back before the high holidays. And more recently, we started learning about negative speech and revenge. That is section 30. We started that yesterday, and please God, we will finish that today. So this is just a synopsis of what's being covered in this particular section. We spoke about not tail-bearing or achilus, which is even if you're not saying anything bad, but it's simply going around saying this is what this and so-and-so did and so-and-so did, that itself leads to problems. And within that, we said what's really bad is lashon hara, where you actually share negative information about people, even if it's true. One may not. One has to avoid this again at all costs. We spoke about how there's clear lashon hara where you actually say that so and so did this and this wrong, and then there's shades of lashon hara, which is where you don't actually say he did something wrong, but somehow you still end up speaking badly about him, and that can be by inference. So if you we're just summarizing. So that could be by inference if you. That you say something good, but implied by what you're saying is something negative, which is summarizing. Or it could be by saying something good about somebody in front of his enemy. That is also a form of lashon hara, because you got to prompt the person to say something bad. Or another example we said was to play innocent, to pretend that you don't know. No, what are you talking about? I don't mean to say anything bad at all, when you know all too well that what you're saying does paint a negative picture. These are all different shades of lashon hara. Today we will speak about the prohibition against taking revenge. It's one of the 630 mitzvahs, as well as the prohibition against having a grudge. And with that we will cover section 30 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Let's take a look. Whoever takes revenge on someone violates the negative command. It's one of the 630 mitzvahs of what one fulfills this mitzvah by ensuring one doesn't do it. As the Torah says, Lo yisidakem, do not take revenge. Now, what constitutes revenge? So, quite simply, if Reuven said to Shimon, lend me your spade, and Shimon replies, no, I'm not lending it to you. The next day, Shimon has to borrow something, and he says to Reuven, lend me your spade. And Reuven says to him, no, I will not lend it to you, just as you did not lend it to me when I asked you for it. This constitutes taking revenge, and here Reuven has violated a negative commandment, one of the 630 mitzvahs. Rather, when Shimon comes to borrow something, he should give it to him, and not just give it to him, but give it to him wholeheartedly, and not pay him back for what he did to him. It is becoming for a person to show forbearance in all mundane matters. For the eyes of understanding people, all matters of the world are nothing but vanity. Like Shlomo Melech says in Kohelet Hakol Hevel, it is all vanity and futility, and not worth taking revenge because of them. And thus said King David HaMelech, Alav Shalom, if I have repaid my friends with evil, I who released my unprovoked adversary, for the prohibition against uttering curses, see chapter 6:3. In other words, King David is saying that I made sure not to pay back to my enemies what they did to me. We know that Shaul HaMelech, King David's father-in-law, was looking to kill him. Nonetheless, King David had two different opportunities where he could have killed King Saul, but he made sure not to, so as not to take revenge. Um, Now, not taking revenge, we're speaking about it in actions. So the example he gives is if you asked to borrow a spade and he said no, and now he wants to borrow your spade and you say no. But really, that the prohibition goes as far as what's in the heart, and that's what he continues to say. Rather, it is becoming for a person to show forbearance in all mundane matters, meaning that not only shouldn't you act in a vengeful way, but you should completely get rid of it in your heart. Liyos mavir al midosav. Midot are already feelings in the heart. And we say that a person should overcome his heart, that not only shouldn't he act with revenge, but he shouldn't even feel feelings of revenge. Obviously, easier said than done. There is very much a natural human instinct of tat for tat, that you treat people the way they treat you. That's a natural human instinct. But the Torah demands more of us than just our instincts. The Torah demands of us and empowers us to rise above. And as he continues to say, if you really want to take revenge against your enemy, then do this. Acquire more good qualities and walk in the path of righteousness. In so doing, you will inevitably take revenge against your enemy. Why? For he will be distressed over your good qualities, and he will be grieved over your good reputation. But if you stoop to vile deeds, then your enemy will rejoice over your disgrace and your shame, and he is the one who takes revenge against you. So there's a concept, kol hamitnavel im hamaduval mitnavel ibo. Anybody who acts despicably with somebody who is despicable ends up being despicable together with him. This is a very, very important concept. It means that when somebody is hurtful to you, then you don't want to get involved. You don't want to get, the moment you got to, if he's, the concept of giving a sharp response, we already spoke about it earlier. We spoke about it earlier, how that should be avoided at all costs. You never want to respond harshly. If somebody says something hurtful, you want to just move on. Just pretend it didn't happen. It will be hurtful, but you move on. Because the moment you respond, no matter what your response is, you're already joining the game. You're already going down to his level. Rather, even if you have such a good sharp response that could put him in his place, you've already lost the war. And so the best approach, as he says over here, if you really want to take revenge against him, don't get involved. Stay higher. Don't respond. As not nice as he is to you, be super nice to him. And that will be the ultimate revenge, so to speak, because he will see that you are succeeding, that you are doing well, as opposed to if you don't give him your spade because he didn't give you yours, then you're actually helping him. Although he's not getting his spade, but he sees that he's pulled you down to his negative conduct. And every step and every word that we take and that we say in this world, we are either taking a step closer to Hashem, causing Hashem to be more revealed in the world, or we're taking a step away and causing Hashem to be more hidden. And in this instance, by responding with kindness to somebody who's not nice, that is a way that we come closer to Hashem and we spread the knowledge of Hashem more in the world as opposed to the opposites. Now, the obvious question that I'm often asked, I'm surprised nobody asked yet, is, we can't let ourselves be trampled over. We've got to stand up for ourselves. You want to put somebody in their place. So that is true, but it needs to be done with intellect, not with emotions. That's the key. If you're going to instinctively really respond to something sharp, that whoever said something mean is now put in his place, then you've done wrong. If instead at the time you pretend you didn't hear and you don't respond, and it looks like you won, but you go home that night and you call up your friend or your brother or whoever it is and you discuss it with him and you say, how can I respond in a way that he doesn't continue? And you respond not with emotions but with strategy and with counsel, then you should take a stand. So we're not saying about letting yourself be walked over, being a walkover. Rather, we're saying that don't get involved, don't take revenge. But if action needs to be taken. Take action, but do it with the head, not with the heart. And that leads us to one final mitzvah. And that is another mitzvah, which is loy sinoter, not to have netira. Now, what's netira? Sure, this is a tough one. This is as follows. So the Torah says, don't bear a grudge against the children of your people. What constitutes bearing a grudge? If Reuben says to Shimon, lend me that thing, and Shimon, oh, 1 second, sorry. And Shimon refused to lend it. After a while, Shimon came to borrow something from Reuben, and Reuben says, I'm going to give it to you. I'm not like you. I'm not going to repay you the way you paid me. So he sounds very righteous. He says, no, I'm not going to have revenge. I'm going to be nice to you, even though you were not nice to me. That itself is a biblical violation, because you're bearing a grudge. Rather, he should blot it out of his heart and think no more of it. And this is the proper frame of mind by which society can survive and economic order between people can be maintained. So if we want to develop a good environment, then it is about not taking revenge, and firstly, not speaking about people in general, which is what we spoke about at the beginning. More than certainly not speaking bad about people, not saying things that will give a bad impression about people, not taking revenge, and not even bearing a grudge. We will end early and start section 31, please God, with Hashem.